Ryan Fitzpatrick might be my favorite player to watch in the NFL, and it's really just because of his play style. He really is that definition of a gunslinger. He's not afraid to sling it. He's not afraid to make these throws that many quarterbacks wouldn't make, but sometimes there's some logic behind just throwing a ball up and seeing if it gets caught. This play is a great example of how it just sort of works out. We'll start off with this one. It's going to be a cover one blitz on this play, and he has a receiver on that bottom half of the screen running a go route, so that is a route that you could definitely look to throw to in this situation because the corner is playing a little bit closer in, so you definitely could have some room to try to get past him. And so it's something that Fitzpatrick is going to look to, especially with just one safety deep, the sidelines can't get open. But what I find unique here, since it's a blitz, at this point is really when Fitzpatrick has to make his decision. There's not much separation going on right now, but for Fitzpatrick, he has to make his decision now. He doesn't have too much longer because pressure is going to get there. It's a blitz. But Fitzpatrick says, you know what? I like Devontae Parker. I think he's a talented enough guy. I'm going to throw one up there, and we're just going to see what happens. Parker ends up getting just enough separation. Fitzpatrick makes a perfect throw, and then Parker does a great job of making the catch and staying on his feet and in bounds and getting into the end zone for a touchdown. So that's what Fitzpatrick brings to the table. It's the way that he is not afraid to make those deep throws. He's also a pretty good deep ball passer as well. And just the fact that he puts his players in a position to succeed like he did on that one. Honestly, I could have also made this video about Devontae Parker. He had 7 receptions for 159 yards and a pair of touchdowns. He had himself a monster day, but I'm making this video about Fitzpatrick just because I feel like he's kind of the more fun guy to talk about just because he is such a unique player in the NFL. The way that, is he the most talented? No, of course not. Is he the smartest? No. But he has been able to make a living by basically just being a gunslinger and being someone who is fearless and not afraid to throw an interception. It definitely will come back to bite you certain weeks, but at the same time, when you're the Dolphins and are clearly not a playoff level team, I think there definitely is a lot of logic in having a Fitzpatrick type guy because he will win you some games even if you don't necessarily have the most talented roster, as we've seen. Of course, we all remember his 3 straight 400-plus yard performance last year, and now he once again kills the Eagles with 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 69 completion percentage, which is definitely very nice. It really is that gunslinger mentality that Fitzpatrick has that really makes him so effective, and I feel like it's been even more so in this game, especially against the Eagles secondary, which has certainly been suspect at times, and he's kind of just said, you know what, I trust my receivers against their secondary, and it absolutely paid off for him, and this play is a good example of that, where it's going to be a 3rd down and 13, so for Philadelphia, they're going to be playing back. It's zone coverage, is what you see on the screen. And they're basically just saying, hey, we're okay with giving up 10 yards here. Let's not give up the first down, obviously. That's what they're trying to do. And so for Miami, once again, it's Parker that's going to be the guy here. He's running a go route. And so there could potentially be an opening there. That's just something that Fitzpatrick should look to. And typically what you would say is, look there, see if it gets open. But if it's not open, then don't make the throw. Take a check down or just throw the ball away and we'll punt. You don't want to throw a pick here, so if there's nothing open, don't panic too much. And after the ball is snapped, one thing you will notice is that there's nothing really open. You would definitely advise young quarterbacks at this point to not make this throw, since, you see that Philadelphia player and how far deep he is comparatively to Devontae Parker. There's about a 3-yard difference, so there is less than separation at this point, essentially, because not only is he not past the Philadelphia defender, he's not even at the level of that Philadelphia defender. So you'd think this wouldn't be a great throw to make. But that's never stopped Fitzpatrick before. He's still going to just throw up a jump ball, and it happens to work out simply because Parker just won his one-on-one matchup. He was able to sort of out-rebound him there and go up and make the grab. So a tremendous play by Parker, no doubt about it. But at the same time, it was just a great throw by Fitzpatrick because he kind of just said, if this gets intercepted, well, that's not that much worse than a punt. It's a little bit worse than a punt, but it's not that much worse than a punt. And of course, if it got complete or there was a pass interference penalty, well then it's a whole lot better than a punt. So that's why he made that decision. Sometimes people would say don't make that type of throw, but Fitzpatrick is not the kind of guy who's going to play it safe. He is going to sling it, and it absolutely works out, especially going up against a rather subpar secondary. And the Miami receivers aren't necessarily elite, but they played really well, so give them a lot of credit, and it did work out for Miami in that game. This play was another great one from Fitzpatrick, where it's going to be a cover one hole, and the route he's going to look at is going to be his tight end running that route right there. It's as you see, it's going to get into a position where it's a one-on-one matchup, and so if he could win that one-on-one matchup, it could be a throw that Fitzpatrick should make. And after the ball is snapped, if you notice, there definitely is some separation, so, Fitzpatrick can make this throw, but he absolutely should make this throw when you look up and notice that the safety on the top half of the screen is all the way up, past the hash marks over to Fitzpatrick's left. So because he's doing that, this now means that it is just a total one-on-one matchup that's going on in the yellow circle right there. So for Fitzpatrick, there's really no debate about it on this one. This isn't a gunslinger throw. This is just a throw he should make, but give him credit for realizing it quickly and also making the throw that was complete. It's not always just him being a gunslinger out there. Sometimes it's him just making smart decisions, and that's what happened right there. He made a smart decision. He was able to beat the Philadelphia defense, and that's really what he was doing all day. Yes, he threw some jump balls up there, but he also was just picking them apart in several different ways. Definitely one of those games that for the Eagles, they're going to have to really just try to reconstructure a lot of things because that was a rough one, but at the same time, give a lot of credit to the Dolphins. They did a great job, especially Fitzpatrick and their receivers. While I certainly do feel like Philadelphia, at times they made some mistakes. I do think that was a big part of why Ryan Fitzpatrick was able to put up so many points on them. I also think part of the reason why was because Fitzpatrick did a great job of taking advantage of Philadelphia's mistakes. I mean, listen, there's plenty of mistakes that go unnoticed throughout a football game because the opposing team doesn't notice it, but Fitzpatrick tended to notice these things, and this one's a good example of that, where it's going to be a one-on-one matchup on the top half of the screen, and he's running a go route. So, okay, something that Fitzpatrick could look to throw to, it could be a touchdown if it works, so he's definitely going to look up in that direction. But if you look right when Fitzpatrick has to make his decision, if you notice the corner, he has his head turned towards Fitzpatrick right here. He's looking back to see if maybe if it's a low throw or something, he can get an interception. I mean, that is something you start to have in your head as a defensive player when you're going up against someone like Fitzpatrick is, hey, maybe I can play a little bit more aggressive against this guy and potentially get an interception or so. I mean, you see guys get burned by that because they going up against a gunslinger, you expect that you can potentially get an interception, but sometimes you then make the wrong decision, and it kind of looks like that's what he's doing right here. I mean, he has his shoulders turned around, he's looking at Fitzpatrick, he wants to see what's going on, but now it's going to be tough for him to get in position, because when Fitzpatrick makes a throw towards the corner of the end zone, there now is a window where he can make that throw, and he does make the throw, which results in a touchdown. It actually looks like he maybe he thought there was some help behind him, I'm not entirely sure, but at the same time, I mean, you gotta just realize what's going on. You gotta know where your help is. It was a cover 2 play, but the reality is, when it's a corner of the end zone type throw, it's going to take a long time for a safety to get over there. You can't blame your safeties, so I don't know. I mean, you gotta do better than that. But again, give credit to Ryan Fitzpatrick, give credit to Devontae Parker, and the Dolphins. They did a great job of realizing there was a mistake and capitalizing, and that's what you do to win football games, is you capitalize on opponents' mistakes. One last play I liked was this one, where it's going to be a cover 2 zone that they're going up against, which is actually good news for Miami because they do have a route concept designed to be cover 2. What they're going to do is they're going to have the receiver in the top half of the screen run that route right there, which in theory will get the safety who's covering the top corner of the screen to then move sort of closer to the middle of the field. And then what it can do is have their tight end run that route right there, and he could potentially get open. That's the way the play is designed to work. But if you notice, what's going to happen right here is that actually a Philadelphia defender does a pretty good job of reading this play. I mean, that player right there, he is kind of realizing what's going on to a degree. He's staying pretty far back, and for Fitzpatrick, he's going to have to wait until his tight end gets past that Philadelphia player before he can make this throw. So he's going to have to bide some time here. So watch how he just runs up in the pocket and waits until that corner of the end zone gets open, then makes an off-balance throw, and they are able to get the completion. Just a smart play by Ryan Fitzpatrick on that one, and it really worked out. And that's kind of what he did. He made some smart plays, he made some gutsy plays, and he made a lot of good plays. And that's how the Dolphins were able to upset the Philadelphia Eagles, and they were able to really prove that this is a team that has some talent on their roster. You know, I've been very critical of them earlier on in the season, as have many people, but they've proven that, okay, they are an NFL team. They do have some talent. They're not just a bunch of scrubs. I mean, listen, the Dolphins aren't necessarily going to be competing for a playoff spot. No way this season worked out where they're going to be competing for a playoff spot. But at the same time, even though they have a lack of talent, they were really able to show, I think, that, okay, they're building something here. They have more draft picks next year. They can be better in the future. And also, they're looking solid now. Maybe not solid, but they have the pieces there where they can win football games if things go right. So if you're a Dolphins fan, you're probably, a lot more optimistic now than you were after week 6 or so. I mean, do I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy? No, I don't even think that he thinks he's the guy, honestly. I think they realize that, okay, we're going to have to upgrade the quarterback position because he does throw a lot of interceptions. But, at the same time, he's definitely breathed some life into this team, and I'm sure Dolphins fans are very happy for what he's been able to do and the fact that he has been sort of a bright spot in a season that has definitely had a lot of downs. He's one of the more unique players in the NFL, and he's definitely doing a great thing for Miami, in my opinion. So, that's just my opinion. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.